in Jacksonville, like the Jags, like do this thing where they yell Duval really loud, and like people respond back to it. Like I don't know, it's weird. And I was like, watch, Duval,
Duval.
Yeah. I was like, Duval.
Welcome to Profession Session, the #1 business podcast in Florida. I'm your host, Brody Vinson, and my guest today is Devin Carvajal. Devin, thank you so much for joining me.
Brody, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. You're involved in a lot of different creative pursuits. So I guess we could start with just how you started with your career and go from there.
Sure. So for those you don't know, I'm the social media graphic designer for the Jaguars, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Go Jags.
Go Jags.
My team as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kind of a interesting story. I went to UNF. That's where I graduated from. Did the graphic design program there. I never touched graphic design, Photoshop, any of that stuff until I started my first day of design school. I was always creative. I was always I could draw and just kind of did it as a hobby. But I knew I was creative. I knew I always wanted to do creative stuff. And I never really even thought of sports as like an outlet because, you know, at the time, now times have changed, but at the time, you know, it was always just what was on the field and shit. At the time, in my head, the players are making the graphics for all I know, you know, at the time. So,
right.
So
you never really know until you kind of get behind the scenes and see stuff.
Right. People have no idea that there's a whole little office down in the damn stadium. That's where we all work out of. That's where all the coaches, the marketing, sales, everything happens in that building.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that either.
Yeah, everything happens in that stadium. There's everything. So
majored in graphic design, but hadn't really got into it before. What led you to choose that as your major, you think?
To be honest, I was like, damn, you know, I really want to be creative, but I want to make money.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of art careers, man, it's tough unless you're a prodigy or I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't know, but I knew graphic design was profitable. I knew everybody needs one.
Yeah, everyone needs one. A lot of routes to get into a good career that way.
And I was making logos. People would ask me to make logos before I even considered graphic design. They just asked me to make logos because I was an artist.
Yeah.
So I was like,
you would just kind of draw something up and go from there.
And I look at the logos I used to do and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like I'm sick. But, you know, I said, all right, how can I do this, make money, and like live a decent life and still be creative? And so graphic design and UNF just so happened to have a graphic design program. I did FSCJ, I did 2 years of that. And then when I transferred, I did 2 years there. But when I started college, I didn't even think of graphic design. I think I wanted to be a physical therapist or something.
Okay.
And then that fell through because they changed it to where I had to have a doctorate degree. And I was like, I don't want to do all that shit.
Did you have kind of a background in sports?
No.
Just kind of like fitness in general?
No, man. I was like, so I'm the youngest of like 4. And I have a sister and 2 older brothers, and you have my brother Chris on here, and they were all athletes. My sister cheerleader, my brother's baseball, football. Man, I was the one who just never got into sports, man. Never got into it. But I was always drawing. Chris will tell you, I used to draw under the stairs when I was a kid.
Really? Okay.
Just like just naturally drawn to art and that creative space. I just was always drawn to it. So when college came around, it kind of just gave me that opportunity to turn it into my career.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what does being a creative mean to you? This is a question I've asked before, and I feel like there's kind of a different answer in there for everyone, right? I mean, it's a different kind of pursuit in many cases. What does just being a creative mean to you, though?
I mean, a creative can span, I think, throughout any field, right? You know, you got to be creative. When people, I feel like when people think creative, they think creative in the sense of art, because obviously that's the word that it's tossed around the most. But creative can exist in a sales department. You know? Chris, my brother Chris, is creative in the way that he's able to come up with ideas. You know, so I think a creative is somebody who can find a solution for something in a different way, looks under the rocks, looks in the crevices for an answer.
Detail oriented,
right,
that kind of thing, looking for different alternatives.
That if like I put you in a room with 3 items, you find a way to turn that into a rocket, or you know what I'm saying? It's just somebody who can look at something and doesn't just see one answer, but see several, you know? I mean, and creative in my world is not just somebody who can do one thing, a Swiss Army knife, somebody who can design, ideate, from start to finish. And so that, I mean, like I said, it can exist anywhere, man, but a creative is just someone who just thinks not just outside the box, but like outside of this universe's box.
I like that perspective. It's very encouraging to creatives, I feel like, too, because it means there's a lot of different avenues out there as a creative. You can go a lot of different directions with it.
100%, man. Nowadays, the culture of creatives is changing. I feel like a lot of people nowadays, I feel like, cared a lot about who's in front of the camera and who's on the graphic. But now the culture switching where people want to know who's behind there.
Yeah.
Who's making that? Who designed this? Whose idea was this?
Exactly. And that's you for the Jags.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just me, man. We have such a great team. But I mean, there really is no other satisfaction than like creating, like having something that is a golden piece and you make it and you put it out there and it just gets eaten up.
That's awesome. That's how I feel when like one of my clips does well from the podcast or something like that. It's just something I've spent hours kind of putting together and thinking through. It's definitely a cool space in that way where you get to really be directly recognized and rewarded for a lot of hard effort and good work.
Right. And it's even funny too. Sometimes it's stuff that you don't put that much effort into that
it is kind of funny like
best,
that. It's stuff that you think is like, I mean, I'll put this out there, but this was not my best work. I spent 5-10 minutes on it.
And I hate when someone like, I'll do a piece like that and they'll be like, oh my God, how did you come up with that? I'm like, I don't know. I just did it and I put it out there. Why do you like this so much?
Just happened.
But you know what? Sometimes it's just the way it works, man, which can get aggravating because the stuff you do put your heart and soul into sometimes doesn't get that love.
It's true. It's a creative pursuit is always going to have a lot of ups and downs like that.
100%.
What do you attribute your ability to kind of deal with those kind of ups and downs to?
Well, in this industry, you got to have tough skin. You got to have, you got to be able to take criticism. And sometimes I will admit for me, it's tough because I do think I know best sometimes. And I definitely need my come to earth moments, but you just got to have tough skin and you got to learn to work with others and you got to learn how to, not every idea you're going to put out is going to get taken the same way by everybody. And working in social media where you can read the comments, you could read the replies, you kind of can gauge how it hits. And
absolutely.
Sometimes there's people who just take it the wrong way or there's people that truly love it. I remember when I first started on the social team, and last year was tough, with everything going on the field. And so just sitting there reading it, I remember it got really tough.
Right.
Maybe 5 or 6 weeks into the season, just reading all the negativity, reading all the comments, and we read them. For everybody out there who comments stuff on the post, we read it. As a social team, we read it. And, it was tough, but, you got to learn how to separate yourself from on field, off field. You can only control what the graphic looks like, but the stats on it, that ain't my business,
Yeah. Well, speaking of the stats, do you do a lot of deep dives into the analytics? You mentioned looking at them a little bit, but maybe what are some important ones that you like to focus on?
So, obviously we like to share, see what hits, like stuff that's the likes are the first thing we're going to look at. The shares come next. We're always in competition. I see it as a competition, at least, with every 31 other teams.
Yeah.
And we were trying to find out who's making the best, who's making the funniest, what's getting shared.
Exactly.
When stuff goes viral, when you get those viral tweets, or when the Sports Illustrated, ESPN are sharing them, that's how you've created something truly, truly good. One of the teams that does it really well, the Chargers, man.
Their stuff is awesome. They had that they had some anime video or something that they did that got I remember huge recognition.
Their schedule release video was insane.
Yeah. They had all the players kind of photoshopped into the video and everything. That was great.
Yeah, that's it's funny because the schedule release video is one of those competitions that is, you probably wouldn't know it if you didn't work in the league, but every social team, every marketing department is trying to come up with the best.
They want to be the one that's talked about.
Right. And obviously the Chargers rocked that one this year.
Are there any other kind of notable competition moments throughout the season like that? Is that kind of the biggest one that stands out?
I would say that one is probably the one that tests your social team and your marketing team's abilities. I would say just week to week in game. You're not just, I feel like the way I look at it when I'm sitting in the press box on one side and I know the other team's press box on the other side, depending on whether you win or lose, whoever's got the fastest guns on the Twitter fingers is where.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like,
I would imagine it's very much all hands on deck.
It feels so nice. I'm not the one who's tweeting, but we're sitting there, we're all talking.
It's all part of the team.
It's all part of. We're all like, our social team's pretty solid. We're a social digital team. There's about I want to say 6-7 of us.
Okay, that's a pretty solid sized team.
Yeah. I'm just so I just do all of our graphics, and our I'll make a meme here and there. We have a videographer, Cam Hicks, who's like come in and just rocked the world. Like from his first week, he's like the me but video. Video side. He's super great. Cam the shooter. Shout out Cam the shooter. So we're like our content. We're like the content guys who like make the shit.
Yeah. And then you got like the guys that are actually doing the posting, the strategic posting, tweeting, all that stuff.
We have Mott, shout out Lotto, and we have Charlie, who's our social media manager. Those guys are, the caption kings. They're helping us come up with ideas. They're keeping us on schedule. They're posting on all platforms. Just got to optimize for the platform.
Yeah, and it's all got to tie together, right?
Right. So
brand consistency and all that.
Correct. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not, man. But what I love about our team is that we are what most people would call, I guess, a small market, man. But we've really done a good job at creating a voice for the team, I feel like.
How long have you been on now? Because I definitely have noticed like a sizable difference in just the level of content quality.
Right. So I was an intern for a year on the foundation, and then I was an intern for another year on the design team.
Okay.
And then they wanted to expand the social team because there was really a small team at the time.
I remember there just not being anywhere near as much content, just not really as well thought through. It kind of felt very much like put something out just to put something out.
Yeah, and because we didn't have the manpower.
Yeah.
And at the time, when I was working as a design intern and as a designer, if you wanted to get a social graphic done, you had to put in a request for it, and who knows if it got done in time. But they wanted to add a bit of quickness and speed, so they brought me in to be that kind of quickness. So if we needed a stat graphic right there, boom. If a meme started trending, I'm there to make it right there. So it was adding that amount of speed and creativity in there as well. So I'm still a designer. I'm not technically on the design team. I like to think of our social digital team as like a small ad agency almost.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, honestly. You got a few different areas all kind of working in Congress together.
Right, because it's not just me. Like, we have designers, but I'm the one designer for this team. Like, we have videographers, but we have one videographer that works for us. So it's like having a small little content, and our team also runs the website.
Okay.
App. So we're like a little marketing company almost.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, props to you and the team, because it really has, obviously I've been a Jags fan my whole life. I moved to Jacksonville for the first time when I was like 4. So Jags fan since I started watching football. And I've obviously always kind of followed them on social media. It really has taken off the last few years.
Good, thanks.
I've enjoyed the content a lot.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm only able to do what I do with this team we got. So they make me better. They make us better. And obviously you see the content. So I'm glad to hear that we're doing a good job, especially from when I hear, what really brings me joy is when I hear from a lifelong fan who will come up to me and they'll be like, I have been a diehard fan my whole life, and the stuff has never looked better. And
that's awesome.
That brings me, that makes me feel good. That's my pat on the back. That's how I feel.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely agree with that stance on it.
Yeah.
So talking about kind of going back to, we talked about the brand consistency, and you've got to have the team kind of working together. What are some of the challenges that you've found there, and how do you work through that as a team? Because I'm sure it's not all smooth sailing.
No,
there's different opinions and all that.
Right. And not every idea can come to life. Not every idea is going to get approved.
Yeah.
But what we've been able to do is create trust within the people who say yes and the people who say no. Like, they trust us completely, and that's not just with our directors, but it's with the players. It's with the coaching staff. We're able to do these little social projects with these players and these athletes because they see what we're doing and they see that it's doing well, and it brings shine to some guys who don't get a lot. It's an opportunity for us to highlight not just the Trevor Lawrences of the team, but the maybe not so well known guys, the 5th, 6th round picks, the guys, the undrafted guys. Like, that's one of our goals, is to really like emphasize player personality and turn these guys from they're not just athletes with numbers on their backs. These are human beings.
You get to know them a little bit through the content.
These guys have hobbies. These guys have loves and likes, and
that's very cool.
However we can highlight that is awesome.
What are some ways that you've been able to move towards that goal a little bit more? Is it kind of interviewing players, talking to them a little bit more?
So we're able to kind of find out. We always like to see what guys are doing, what they're into off the field, try to incorporate that. One of the most recent ones was we did a piece about J2 Fele, who's a lineman. He was drafted last year, and we just highlighted his culture. He's I think he's a Samoan descent, and,
cool.
and we did a whole piece on him, and it was just so nice to be able to bring out that little bit. We interviewed him in his home. He showed us pieces of his culture and his history. We learned about his family. So it was just really nice to, take somebody who maybe feels like they might not have the most shine and put and highlight their life, or content pieces like maybe our Mental Health Awareness Month piece was really great. With Tyrell Adams, we interviewed him, talked about what mental health meant to him, and that, it doesn't just we don't just get love from the people, but those players, like other players see that and they're like, how can we be a part of this? Like, how can we help do that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you play fantasy football at all?
I do. I played it for a while. I started playing it a few years ago. I actually won a couple of times, but I sucked last year, but I'll probably play again this year.
It's a lot of ups and downs. Yeah. I mean, I got second place at a pretty competitive team my first year, and then since that I always make playoffs, but I mean, it's just hard.
Yeah,
like it's a lot of like.
I mean, I think we can we work for the NFL, so obviously we can only we're allowed to play just like up to a certain amount of money. Like we can't.
That makes sense.
We can't go too crazy, and I don't really know any insider secrets. People are always like, "Yo, help me out with my fantasy."
Yeah,
I'm like, bro, I just know what number this is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know
exactly.
I don't know what they're gonna do this year.
Yeah. Well, I ask about the fantasy football because one thing I've found since I started playing is that it gives you a much deeper appreciation for each individual player.
Oh, right.
Like, for example, I mean, you mentioned like Trevor Lawrence, like, the big stars, the quarterbacks pretty easily. Everyone kind of knows about them. You hear about it through like draft news and everything like that, even when they're in college usually. But just highlighting all the players like that, I think is really cool because it gives you such a deeper appreciation of the game.
Oh, yeah. And that's also what helped me learn before I was even working in sports. Like fantasy football was a way to like learn about, and it makes you interested in each game.
Exactly.
I always think about Marvin Jones. I used to have Marvin Jones on my team almost like every year, I think, since I started playing.
Yeah.
So when he moved to Jags from Detroit, I was like, that's Marvin Jones.
Exactly. Like I remember him being at Detroit, and like he was always one of those kind of like borderline guys where
he was
like
consistent.
Is he a double?
He had his
wide receiver 3, 2? He might be a 2 sometimes. Like
he always. I think I always had him on my team. So it's so funny now he's there. I think Jamal Agnew too is another one that I always kind of kept him.
I remember seeing him a lot too.
So yeah, I agree. Fantasy helps. If you're not a sports fan, fantasy football is a really good way to start.
A lot of my friends have really gotten into football through it. I mean, I kind of grew up watching it and started playing it early and just, strengthened my love of the game from there. But like if you've never played it and you start with fantasy, it's a good way to take it from just like a social fun thing to really loving the game.
Right. Oh, we get together for the draft. And that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
I love it. Yeah, I do love it.
So we kind of skipped ahead a little bit. Let's go back to your time in college. So graphic design major, you graduate from that. Did you start that internship with the Jags at first while you were still in college?
Yeah. So I was working at Lululemon.
Okay.
I used to work at Lulu right there in the town center. I worked there for years. It's a great company to work for. Shout out Lulu.
They've got great stuff.
I'm draped in it right now. I love that Lulu. And anyway, so I worked there for a while, and then when I was working there, I met a man. His name's Adriel Roca. He was the community relations manager at the time.
Okay.
And he would come in. I'd help him out with whatever he needed. If he needed pants altered or something, I just would help him out. And he was cool. We would shoot the shit, and not that much older than I am. So, but one day he came in. He was like, "Hey, I'm looking for an intern. You don't really need to know anything about being in the community. You just, kind of just need to do whatever I say almost, very like kind of just, I'd run errands.
Just be there to learn.
Yeah, just be there. And so as long as I was teachable. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. So, and he was kind of used it and kind of sold me on it. I'm being like, well, it's just an opportunity for you to maybe get your foot in the door in the sports world.
That's awesome.
So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And so I did that internship, and I was just like sold. ever since. Just sold. I was like, this is what I need to be doing.
That's awesome.
So I did that, and I was able to kind of help out with their Instagram. That's kind of where I got started. From the door, I would help out with the foundation Instagram. I did a few design projects for them. I worked with the design team, and that's how I got to meet John Cassio, who's the creative director for the Jags. And John was like, he let me work on some projects with him, and then COVID hit. That was when the internship ended, around COVID time, like mid-2020 is when I graduated. So
it was like a set timeline for the internship at first?
Yeah, it was like kind of like before the season to a little bit after. But, but a little bit after went into COVID, when COVID hit, literally like the week before, a couple weeks before I graduated. And I was doing that, and then it was kind of dull. Obviously everything took a hit, everything took a stop, but sports kept going. Sports rose from the ashes. I mean, we thought, and that's just another thing I love about what I work in, is that not even a global pandemic can stop people from wanting their fantasy football,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, with the NBA too, they literally set up an entire bubble of a city to play
I'm a Heat fan. That bubble year was phenomenal. Go Heat. Yeah, go Heat. Phenomenal.
Same teams.
Phenomenal year that year. But yeah, so sports didn't stop, and so sports actually kept hiring. Design internship opened up with the team, and
so was that a first-time position at the time?
What, the
design internship?
They've done design internships before. That's pretty normal across. That's pretty standard across. But I guess they just needed the extra help. So luckily, I created that relationship with John. I almost blew it by asking him to help me out to go to another city. I wanted to go work in Chicago for female reasons. I wanted to go to Chicago, and that didn't work out. So I was like, okay. Maybe I saw that design internship open up with the tier, and I was like, oh man, let me email John. And I emailed John, and he was like, perfect, moving you up to in-person interviews. I don't even know. He told me, I don't even know if I interviewed anybody else, But,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So,
because you had that foot in the door already. You had helped with a couple things already.
Right. And he's seen the work I can do, and he knows how passionate I am about what I do. And so hopefully I think it was a no-brainer. So, got hired onto that. I did design work there, and then while I was in there, I'm pretty self-motivated, pretty I'm gonna make something even if nobody tells me to, because that's, to me, gonna make you stand out. When you're not, if you're just sitting waiting for orders, you're not gonna get anywhere.
Exactly.
You need to be ambitious, and you need to be passionate about what you do, or else.
Especially with a high-level organization like an NFL football team. I mean, that's the kind of person that they need on deck.
And let me tell you, there are so many people who would kill for just that internship, for just that interview. People would kill for. So you got to put it in perspective that you're not just you're lucky to work in sports, because there's people who want this so badly, and I wanted it to, and I didn't realize that until I was in it, because to me it kind of, to be honest, it fell into my lap, and I'm lucky for that chance and that opportunity, and I thank those people every day.
Absolutely.
But there's people who really, really want it.
Where do you think that drive and that go-getter attitude came from for you, or where did you learn that?
Every day, it was just a family dynamic that we have. We're just goes. We just go.
It's the culture of the family.
Yeah, we just are non-stoppers. I think just in our personality, by nature, and just by what we were raised on, we just go. My dad, I know Chris talked about how our father's Cuban, and he came here when he was very young, and he made something for himself, and everything that he did, he became a police officer, and he says it all the time. He's like, there's nobody in this family who benefited more, who didn't benefit from me becoming what I am, and I want to be able to say the same thing. I want to be able to do what my dad did and provide and show that I'm not, not a provider, but I want people to benefit from what I do just as much as I want it.
I love that. It's a powerful driving force, powerful reason.
Yeah.
That immigrant mindset is a very powerful thing on its own too. That's a thing I've talked about a couple times on this show. It's a very powerful driving force.
It is when you see that where they come from, especially in a place like Cuba where you can't really do much, and that ability to jump, it's something that you kind of get instilled in by your parents, and you got to take the torch and run with it.
Exactly.
And, my mom was such a hard worker too, man. But my mom, what was crazy about her is she could flip it. She could flip from business professional to being feared to the goofiest, fun. My mom was so good about teaching me to work hard, but play is hard. You know what I'm saying?
I love that.
Yeah, my dad was always work, but my mom, I lived with my mom a lot, and so she was she taught me how to play hard too. So I think I'm do a pretty good job at that. I'm not as serious. I try not to take life super seriously, because life isn't that serious, and you should have as much fun as you can. And that's why I love what I do, because I get to make memes, you know, and yeah, I'm sitting at a desk, but man, I'm having the best time behind that desk because the stuff that's coming out of it, it's rewarding.
Exactly. And I feel like having that perspective just lends to better work too, especially in the creative field. If you are taking it completely seriously and really just have that serious professional, over the top professional mindset,
right,
the work's not going to be fun. I mean, you're making content that's meant to be enjoyed.
It's meant to be right, exactly. It's meant to be liked and it's meant to be shared, and that's what that's what I love. Like, I truly believe that was put on this earth to do what I'm doing today.
That's awesome.
You know? Like, I truly love it. It is a blast. I mean, like, when I'm sitting behind that computer, there's days where I would like just don't even want to work, but there's days that, I mean, when it's done and it goes out and it gets accepted, I'm just like, yes.
Yeah, and when you have ups and downs, and you know, there's going to be ups and downs in whatever you do, but if you have a powerful driving force and a powerful reason for why you're doing it and why you love doing it, it's something you can always fall back on, which is really cool.
In this industry, you got to be passionate.
Absolutely.
In the sports creative industry, you need to be like, I at least think you need to be passionate, because if you're not passionate about not just your craft, but your team, your city, you know, what are you doing?
Exactly.
There's somebody else, I think, out there who could probably do it better than, because you got to be passionate. Passion is everything in this industry to me.
And you got to show up and bring that every day.
Every day. Because
absolutely.
Like I said, there's a lot of people who want to do what I do, but I got to be louder than all of them. If not, I'm gone.
You control your own job security that way.
I'm cut. Right. Exactly. Got to create value in yourself.
So working for an NFL team, you know, it's something that you mentioned earlier, a lot of people don't really know a lot about the behind the scenes. Right. What are some kind of behind the scenes stories that stand out just from your time with the team?
Sure. Definitely one of the things I've learned the most is that these players are just people.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like when I first started, they were really scary. So you start to learn that like they're just about as wide-eyed and bushy-tailed as we are when we meet them, you know, and a lot of this is new. I think one of my favorite, like, kind of behind the scenes moments like that, it was when we drafted Trevor.
Yeah.
And I tell this story all the time because it just makes me laugh. But it was his first day in. We flew, you know, we drafted him and ETN. I think we flew them both in. And so Trevor gets there. There's this whole caravan of people waiting for him.
I bet, yeah.
And so, you know, our job was to kind of just, and the social team wasn't what it was now.
When he first got there?
When I started on the social team. So, which was kind of cool because I had more role, right? I had to kind of be a bit more Swiss Army. And I still kind of do that. Like, I'm not just the designer. Like, I do help out with the phone videos. I do help out, like, I'm on the field, you know, just, you know, little here's and there's. Whenever I'm needed, I'm called upon. So whatever. Anyway, so it's Trevor Lawrence's first day, and he's coming in, and so I'm sitting in the room, and we're about to do a photo shoot, and it's me, Shane Santiago, who's the creative director at Bravely, which is like they're an ad agency that we worked together, a marketing agency that we worked together with. We outsource for stuff here and there, but Shane's a great guy, and so we did a lot with them. We completely rebranded our look. We did it with them. It was me, him, the photographer. I think it was James Gilbert is his name, and then our marketing president or marketing officer, chief marketing officer, Julian Duncan. We were all in the room. And so I remember, you know, we're sitting there waiting for him. It's just this white room with like the white backdrop, and it's a small room. It was like one of the quarterback coaches' room, small room. Here he comes walking in, dude. Like tall,
super tall, yeah.
Tall. I was like, oh,
how tall is he? Like 6? Is he 6'6"?
6 tall as fuck.
Yeah, 6 tall as fuck.
That's all I know. And he comes in and he just is like, all right, let's take some pics. So I'm just sitting. I'm just observing. I'm watching Shane do his thing. Shane's directing him, like telling him what poses. You know, he's in full. This is the first time he's in full Jag uniform. And there he is. And I just remember being in that room, and he's doing his thing, and I'm just watching. And for like a split second, like we make eye contact, and I just start laughing. And he starts laughing, and I'm just like, I just go, I can't believe this shit. I said something along the lines like, I can't believe I'm here right now. He's like, yeah, me neither. You know, it's like, that was just like one of my favorite moments, because I'm like, dude, just as much as like I'm in awe of him, like he's probably like, what is going on right
He's
now?
like, I'm in the NFL.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, which is like, it's just crazy to kind of see that kind of like those real moments. They're just dudes. They're just
That's
dudes.
a cool moment.
Dudes with big bank accounts, man.
Yeah,
Just dudes with big bank accounts and athletic.
And it's cool. I mean, you're the same age as me, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the same age that a lot of these guys are coming in.
Younger.
It's a little bit younger.
And they're getting younger.
They're like 22, 23.
Yeah.
So it's got to be cool to be kind of in that same area, same kind of mindset in certain ways.
Yeah, and like, you know, you meet guys and you start formulating relationships with them because they're like, oh, they're just your age, you know, and I'm pretty face-to-face with them when we do like kind of camera stuff or any social projects or on the field. I'm kind of just in their face, so which is nice because you get to form relationships with them, and like the more that they recognize you, the more they're willing to kind of mess around and kind of loosen up and come to the camera and, you know, do something great, you know. One of our most viral TikToks was one that was with Chris Claybrooks. We have two really popular ones with Chris Claybrooks. He's great on the camera, and it's just like from head to toe, and we're in the all teal uniforms. It's like, oh, this is my outfit for today. And that TikTok went crazy. We didn't win the game, but the TikTok went insane.
That's a win.
And insane. I have pictures of me like filming it, and it's just like crazy to see like the process, and then like it just like I posted it on. That's like one of those pieces where it was like it took no effort.
Yeah.
Posted it. Literally posted it while the game, like right at the start of the game. Didn't look at it. And when I opened my phone, it was already at almost 1 million views by the end of the day.
That's crazy.
So it just is one of those, like when we were talking about like pieces that just take no effort that end up popping.
And that's part of the beauty, I feel like, of trying to highlight the players and their personalities too. It speaks for itself. It's content on its own, and it's what people want to see.
Definitely the coolest group of players that I've had a chance to work with. They're just all so cool, have so much to offer, and they're just really nice. Really nice. You know, no big timers. Everyone's just really, really great.
That's awesome. Just a nice, humble team. Cool group of guys.
Yeah, definitely the coolest group.
Who are some of the best hangs on the team?
Like cool dudes?
Yeah, just most fun to hang out with.
Man, Marvin Jones is a great guy. I love that guy. He speaks Spanish, so we'll speak Spanish to each other every now and then. Whenever he sees me, he's like, mi gente. I'm like, what's up, baby? Jamal Agnew's cool. Jamal is super, super cool. Trevor's really cool. Trevor's a really cool guy too to do stuff with, man. He's
I've heard that about him. I've heard he's just like the most down to earth, chill, nice, cool guy.
Yeah, very, very cool guy. J-Rob's cool. I mean, there's just a lot of them are cool. Even though I met some of the new guys that have come in, like Devin and Trayvon Walker. I mean, those. I mean, like just adding to the cool. Trad Muma's cool. Like we're just a
great group.
Just
of guys.
Really nice. And like when we'll do like Jags cams, you know, where we like ask them questions as they're walking out to practice, and when they see it, they like everybody like wants to be on one. You know.
Yeah.
So they all will run up and be like, oh man, let me redo that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just you just get to form relationships with these guys that people are like look at these guys like gods, but it's like, man, they're just dudes.
They're dudes.
They're just dudes who like football and get paid really well to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have an interesting question. What is, after they win a game, obviously you're in the stadium, you're there during the game, kind of working on stuff. What is the cultural shift like when they come off the field after winning a game and they're just like electrified, super hyped?
Man, last season we didn't have many, right? But we, when we did get them,
they hit even harder. Yeah.
My God. I remember the Dolphin game when we won in London last year. There's a video on my Twitter, I could probably find it, of us where somebody was recording that field goal that Matthew Wright made to win the game. And it's like 9 a.m. because we had to get to the office at because the game's super early.
Yeah.
So at this point it's maybe like 10 or 11, but we got there like 7 or 8 in the morning. We're tired. We're all working. We only had 2 people go to London. I think Charlie and our videographer went to London. So everybody else were like in a war room in the stadium watching it. And we just lose our minds. Like, you could watch, like if you see the video I'm talking about, like we're hugging each other, like we're running around. I'm like, wait. And my boss is like, Devin, make the graphic. I'm like, wait, I gotta go. And I like get on the computer and I have to like whip up the W. Like, you know, or like when we beat the Bills, that was one that just blew my mind. Like
that was insane.
No
one saw that coming.
Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
So I remember we're sitting there and it's like the 4th quarter and we're still up. And I'm like, do I make a win graphic? Like, do I need to make a win graphic right now? And I'm like, I start cooking. I'm sitting there, I'm watching, I'm cooking it up. And that was actually one of the most like viral pieces that we made too. We did, there was that one meme where it's like Josh Allen, but it's like from the Jordan interview, and it's like, it's like, and I took that personally. Like, Josh Allen's head. And
I love that.
That piece, like I had friends sending me, it was on the news, it was on ESPN, you know, like that tweet went viral. So that's like in those moments, when that adrenaline's running,
Yeah.
who knows what comes to mind, but just I don't even think it's like we don't plan it. Sometimes we don't plan. Sometimes it's like
you have no idea how the game's gonna go.
Right. So when in that moment where it's like, oh, God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I'm like freaking out, but the adrenaline's pumping. And sometimes that's where the best opportunities come to make great content.
Get probably some of your best work in those like electrifying moments.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Were you in your internship yet when we had the season? I want to say it was 2018 or 2019. This might have been before you were with the team, where we had that one season.
I started the 25th season was the year I started.
Was that before or after the season where we went to the AFC Championship?
I was after.
It was after. I can imagine.
I was a Dolphin fan at the time, but I do remember watching those games. I remember the city was super electric, man, and trying to hopefully rebuild and do that now.
I was in Orlando during the time, still in college, and people you didn't even knew what Jacksonville, the city was. Were yelling Duval from the rooftops. Like
people know Duval, man.
Yeah,
I feel like that chant has become so popular, but like
absolutely.
I don't want to say recently. I don't want to speak for Jacksonville, right? I'm sure there's people out there like, no, man, I know it's been a chant forever. But nowadays, man, you could yell Duval in the streets and someone might yell it back at you.
I went to Bonnaroo a few years ago up in Tennessee, far flung from Jacksonville. And I remember we saw someone with the Jaguars flag and we just yelled, Duval. And we got the yell back and it was awesome.
I went to Lala last year and I was wearing a T-Law jersey and I had a few people like, let's go. I'm like, yeah. A lot of them were Clemson fans, but I had like one, maybe two people were like, Duval. I was like, Duval. I yell it. I mean, it's hard not to yell it.
Exactly. It's one of those things. It hits. It's iconic. That's it.
It's iconic. Yeah. I remember I was at EDC Orlando one time, and I was talking to a friend of mine. And I was like, "Yeah, man," and I wasn't even working for the Jags. And I'm like, "Yeah, we're like the festival just ended, and we're all like leaving." And I'm like, yeah, like in Jacksonville, like the Jags like do this thing where they yell Duval really loud and like people respond back to it like I don't know, it's weird. And they're like, she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, watch Duval, and like the whole like, everybody, I was like, oh shit, and they all yelled it back. So hey,
you get it all over. Absolutely. It's one of those things, like you said, it's just iconic. Are you going to EDC this year, you think? I've been a few times myself. It's a great time.
I've been a few times. I'm from Miami, so I love that kind of, I love house, I love EDM, that kind of music. So, but I haven't been to a festival in quite some time.
I haven't either. I'm thinking about just picking it back up. It's been probably like 3 years for me. But.
Yeah, I want to do a bit. I want to like I said, I did Lollapalooza last year, which is awesome, and I love Chicago and I love that city. And it was also like the first like festival, like major gathering after COVID, and it was.
Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it?
So great, God, it was so good. And so I want to do more of those, like more like mixed festivals, not just EDM specifically, but. I've done Ultra. I was doing Ultra in high school. We're taking the train there.
That's one I'd love to hit.
Yeah, back before we were like, I guess think about what we were doing in Miami at 18 or 15, 16 years old. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. How do we get away with that?
How do we get away with it? How am I still alive? And, why? Like I tell people who aren't from Miami, these stories are like, I didn't start drinking until I went to college.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Miami's a different kind of place.
Yeah, it moves a little faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can only handle maybe like a weekend when I'm down there. I love it, but it's exhausting.
Yeah, I haven't lived there for a while, man.
I'm sure you get used to it growing up there.
Yeah, I like to take a lot of that culture, that Hispanic culture, that city culture, I try to bring with me here, and whenever I go home, I try to have the most, city day possible.
Yeah.
But I haven't lived there in so long, man. Sometimes you feel like you lose sometimes you feel like you lose your home, When you're not there for a while, it kind of sucks, but Miami's my city. I've got it tattooed on my leg.
I love it.
Yeah.
Remember where you came from.
Always. Yeah. If I get lost, my mom loves that one. She's like, it's like the city of Miami logo. She's like, Devin, that's on the trash cans. Like, whatever, Mom. You don't get it.
Yeah. It's part of the culture.
Yeah. Come on.
Well, speaking of things that started in Miami, I think you mentioned so we haven't talked about this at all yet, but you have kind of a DJing side career as well. I think you started in Miami, you said.
Yeah, I started DJing. I've been DJing for a few years now. I started a little bit dabbling in it in my senior year of high school. And then I moved to Jacksonville. And I was like, I didn't really know anybody when I moved here.
Yeah.
I moved here. I knew my brother. He moved here before I did.
Okay.
Chris. And
but you guys have a pretty big age difference. You said it's what, like 13 years or so?
Something like that. Yeah. I'm young. He's old. That's all.
Yeah.
Anyway, he lived here, and I only know him and his wife, and just kind of moved here not knowing a soul, just my family, and lived in a 1-bedroom apartment off Southside Boulevard. And I was like, man, I need to do something. So I was like, I didn't have my own equipment for DJing at the time. So I went out, bought my own speaker, bought my own turntable. I started doing apartment parties. I started doing, just little frat parties here and there.
Now, were you the guy that would be like on the aux all the time at the party already?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
even
awesome.
Even in the car too.
Yeah.
I just always needed to have the aux.
I love that.
Control the party. That's how I like it.
I love to do it, but it's a problem for me because I'll get on Spotify or something and then I'm just not doing anything during the party. I'm basically like, I'm editing the cue like every couple seconds. Like I'm kind of assessing the vibe and like changing the cue around.
I just love controlling the party.
Yeah.
I like controlling the mood.
Bringing the good vibes.
Yeah. I'm not like a specific, especially now, like where it's more of like a side gig. I wouldn't say I'm specifically one genre or not. I'll play the national anthem. I'll play
I love that.
I'll play disco. I'll play whatever I feel like playing.
Whatever the vibes are called for.
I DJ now once, twice a weekend. I do like I do Tavern right now.
Okay.
Tavern down at the beach.
Oh, really? Yeah. I go to Tavern.
I do Tavern almost every Friday and Saturday.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool. Tavern has gone crazy lately, like the last year or two.
That's crazy because that's like around when I started.
Hey, common theme here. Come to the Jags, start doing some graphic design, the social media pops off.
Look, I don't track patterns, bro. But if I did, I'd start with me, track the timeline, just saying. But yeah, I do that. And when I was in college, I was in a fraternity. So I...
At UNF, you said, right?
So interesting, people always ask this story. I was a UNF graduate, went to UNF, but I was a Pike at Jacksonville University.
Oh, okay. How did that work?
Pretty well. Like I said, when I started DJing, actually it was DJing that helped me kind of do that. I met one of the founders of the chapter at the time. They were just getting the chapter up. They invited me to come help them DJ. They would pay me to DJ their parties, and I did it for a while. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm transferring. And they were like, dude, man, we want you to be a Pike, man. We like you. And I was like, That's like awesome. This. None of my bros were frat bros. Like I'm actually the first to graduate of my siblings. To get the degree. So I was like, I'm gonna do the whole damn experience. Yeah. And they were like, oh, we want you to be in this fraternity. And I'm like, well, I don't go there. And they're like, all right, we're going to see what we can do. So they come back to me and they're like, hey, we changed the rules. As long as you're attending a full-time university within X amount of miles of JU. Oh, that makes sense. We'll give you a bid. And I'm like, they're like, but if we give you a bid, you got to do it. I'll never forget that. And so it was like, I was kind of taken back that they changed, that they did that for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let y'all down. And so I did that. And they gave me the bid, and they surprised me. Actually, at a party I was DJing, they surprised me with a bid. It was awesome, and it made me love it even more. And then I did it. I paid but I attended UNF, and same city. Yeah, same kind of stuff to do. Not that far away, about 20 minutes apart. Exactly. I went to UNF, but I was a JU fraternity boy. I would drive there to meetings. Nice. I was an exec. I did it all. Paid my dues. What position on exec? I was on exec in my fraternity as well. I was social media chair for a while, and then I was VP of member development. So that's an awesome position. Kind of just helped run some new member meetings here and there. But it was fun. I wanted to be president, but I was like, you know what? Let me let somebody who actually goes to the school. I could tell you, president. Yeah, my best friend in my fraternity was president, so we were on exec together. He was actually membership development, funny enough, and then president the next term. And he was a different person when he was president. He's this super charismatic, awesome guy, but he was stressed all the time. It was, it does something to you. My little ended up becoming president, maybe a year before I left, or I forgot when he became president, but he ended up becoming the president. I was just it was cool because I was like, hell yeah, because you kind of want to, there's a competition between brothers of the guys that you bring in are usually the guys that end up being your little. So it's exactly seeing your little go off to be president. It's haha. That is neat. My little's a president. Suck it. Did something right. Shout out Evan. Yeah. But yeah, so that was also really good too for DJing. So DJing, I was able to have the pull from both schools. Exactly. I was doing Mavericks back in the day. Mavericks was crazy. I was doing If you ever been to a Mavericks on a Thursday, there's a good chance your boy was DJing in the top. Probably so. And we're the same age, so I probably was there for one of your DJs. Yeah, probably. I did Myth. I actually got my start at Myth.
I've actually never been to Myth. I've heard it's pretty neat though.
It's pretty cool. It's like really one of the only clubs in Jacksonville that actually still stands the test, and it's like super cool. It's got the long hallway with the lights, the tree in the middle is what they're super iconic for. But I got my start there. I actually remember I DM'd a promotion company. I was like, hey, I'm a young DJ, just trying to get my start. Think you guys need any more DJs? Just let me know. And they're like, yeah, come on this Thursday. Started there, and then grew and grew.
That's awesome.
Next thing you know, I remember for my fraternity, we would team up with like Social Academy, and like we did the tailgates for Florida, Georgia. Yeah. I remember one year we had, we did one with Strata. And we did the one with like Yin Yang Twins. And dude, I opened up for Yin Yang Twins. That shit was awesome.
Did you get to meet them?
Yeah, I have a couple videos of them in like the
That's
back.
awesome.
Like, yeah.
They have the Whisper song, right?
Yeah,
that song is
they have so many bangers. But I've gotten to, I mean, that's also another thing that like, you know, it's funny because when people ask me about it, I don't really take it as seriously. I do in my mind. But when I look back on my DJ career, I'm like, you kind of did.
Some cool moments,
did some cool shit. I didn't just do like events and stuff. I did weddings,
That's
bar
cool.
mitzvahs. I worked with a guy who really helped me a lot in my career was DJ. His name's Jeff Bell. He has the Jeff Bell experience.
Okay.
He brought me on, and I was like kind of the first to be in his company to where, because now he has like 4 or 5 DJs under his like wing, but before it was just him.
Okay.
And so me and him, he would send me out to do a gig. If he couldn't do it, he would send me. He taught me how to do weddings. He really taught me crowd control. He really taught me mic control. You know, he taught me what not to play at certain moments. So, and I made some good money working with him. So I did that, and some of my other guys. I mean, Tay, who used to run, or I don't know if he still does, this company, We The Plug, which is like a promotion company, and they're like an event company. He helped me get started at Myth, and there's a lot of people. DJ Capone, who's like an old time. He's been around in Jacksonville for a while, been rocking the airways for a minute, man. He taught me a lot too. So it's just, I've just met a lot of cool people on the way, a lot of cool experiences. And I'm still doing it now, you know, just it's a good side money, my shoe money.
Fun to do, I'm sure too. Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah. I'm kind of an attention freak, so
it's good for that.
I like to be like in the middle, like, yeah, you know, jumping on tables.
I love it. You mentioned that he taught you, you know, what not to play in certain situations. Any moments that stick out as moments where you're like, oh, that was a miss?
Man, that's a great question, because I try to erase those from my mind. Yeah. Man, I do remember my first wedding that I did by myself. I was going to guess
if anything, it was a wedding.
This is a moment where it was like, I can't believe it worked. Where it was like the couple wanted, it was at Casa Marina. The couple wanted,
that's a good spot.
The couple wanted this song that was an upbeat song, not a slow song. Like that was what they wanted their first dance to be. Of course, my board is acting up. My board is every problem in the world. I'm like, shit. I'm freaking out. Yeah. My dad, my brother, and my sister-in-law decide to surprise me, and they're up in the bar, in the upstairs bar, looking down, and I was like, so I'm stressing out because now my dad's watching. My dad used to be a wedding DJ. So wow. So they're watching. I'm like freaking out. It's my first wedding. And so I remember it's time for the first dance. I'm like, okay, I got the song queued up and ready to go. I hit play. I had a slow song a slow song start playing. I'm like, oh shit. And so they start dancing to it. I'm like, oh shit. And then I cut it to the song that they wanted, which was like an upbeat song. I like that. But it was a mistake. Like I wasn't supposed to do that. Like that's just what happened.
I could see that working though.
So yeah. And so I didn't tell my boss that.
Yeah.
I didn't tell my boss that happened. But then like a week after the wedding, they get a review. Yeah. Like they wrote a review about me, and they were like, oh, Devin, he was so great. And we love especially what he did where he like played a slow song, and then he played our like upbeat song. It was so great, and it tricked everybody. It was so good. And he was like, you didn't tell me you did that. I was like, it was an accident, but I guess they liked it. So it was just like one of those like, oh my God, I can't believe it worked.
In the moment you were probably like, oh my God.
Yeah, but it worked, and they loved it, and that was my first wedding experience.
It's like high stakes too, because it's someone's wedding. So you're probably
it's like
nothing can go wrong.
Dude, weddings, man. That's why I'm kind of don't really do them anymore.
Yeah, I could see that.
They bring some, I mean, dude, they're stressful. That's somebody's day. And how many times you go to a wedding and you look at the DJ and you're like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah,
you know,
that's so true.
You're like, oh man, I can't believe this guy's playing this music.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so, you are on everybody's radar. You want to make, everybody's going to judge you right off the rip, right when they walk in the building.
And it's so personalized to like the type of wedding. Like you're not going to really know that going in unless you know.
And a wedding is a gathering of every type of person. So it's like playing the music that like is not just going to get one person going, but it's got to get the whole room going. Or else
Exactly.
Like you always remember to me, I always remember the DJ, and if it's good or not. And I'm always like, God, this song sucks.
Yeah.
Or man, this guy's a dickhead on the mic. You know what I'm saying? Like this is their day. If you fuck it up, it's your fault.
If you had to pick one go-to song, like you're kind of in a corner, you have to one go-to song. What is it?
To get everybody moving?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I'm sure you've got a few, but
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think like at Tavern, like what, like if I'm running out, like what
Yeah.
do I play to get the crowd on my side? 2 tracks. Gold Digger by Kanye.
oh yeah,
Gold Digger by Kanye gets them going every
I
time.
love it.
Actually 3. Party in the USA.
Yep. Oh, always.
Party in the USA.
You got the
because it's not just about
waving the hands. It gets everyone's
Well,
everyone
you
moving.
can't just get the like. My goal is to talk to the women. I don't give a shit what the men want to hear.
Yeah.
Whatever the women want to hear, that's what's going to get.
They lead the charge.
Yeah, right. Girls are dancing, guys are dancing.
Exactly.
And then everybody's dancing. Or Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Nice.
I love that song too.
Oh,
I play
yeah.
that one on my own. I also play a lot of Spanish music. So
Nice.
And I think that's what
You kind of mix it in a little bit with the other stuff.
I actually have like whole segments, and I've actually noticed within like my time at Tavern how much of a crowd is coming just to hear the Latin music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's not really any bars I could think of that play Latin music specifically, at least not at the
That's
beaches.
true.
I mean, they might play a couple songs here and there, but I get into like a bit more of the deeper cuts, the
Yeah.
older tracks, like the throwbacks.
It is usually just like the very surface level stuff.
Yeah,
like
Gasolina, Hips Don't Lie.
couple, like maybe the latest Bad Bunny track or
Right,
something.
right.
like,
But I'll
that everyone knows.
play some deep Bad Bunny. You know, I
Yeah.
try to mix it up because I'm Latino myself, so and I love that type of music. It's danceable. Like it's
Just
it's
naturally.
dance music. It's just dance music is
Exactly.
what it is. So why am I not going to play stuff that's going to get everybody moving? I don't care if you're. I'll get on the mic and be like, all right, come on, white people, come on, move those hips, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
they're just. It's fun, man. I do love it. I do love it. There's days where I'm like, I really want to stay in on a Friday night, but then I'll get there and it'll just go so great.
Yeah.
The crowd is singing. I'll cut the music and I'll hear them singing along, and like that brings me like energy. It's like,
Yeah.
You know?
And for me to give some context to all the non-Jacksonville locals, I mean, I've been going to Tavern for maybe 5 years or so now. And it used to be like the spot. I mean, it was one of like the main ones always, but it used to be the spot where it was like, I don't know about Tavern. Like maybe I'll go.
Me included.
Last like 2 years, I want to say. It sounds like since you took over, like the last time I was in town and tried to go out there, I couldn't even get in because the line was too long.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
props to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So do you see it as something you would ever travel for, the DJing? Or do you like it being kind of like a local thing that's a side gig for you?
I mean, if the money's right,
Yeah.
do it, man.
Right opportunity.
But like
kind
I
of
said,
thing.
whenever I think about my DJing career, I talk about it like it's not a big deal. It's very, I have friends that.
Because it's not your main career.
Right, it's not. And I've met so many cool like DJ friends along the way. I have so many people I've met in the industry that when I see them, they know that it's kind of, you don't want to get known as being the like guy who just plays the top 40, which is what I do. Like I'm the freestyle, what is it called? A free form, I guess, music style where I'll play whatever comes up. And I have guys who are just strictly dubstep or house, but there is a mutual respect. I mean, I'm sure I got clowned, Devin at Tavern is gonna play fucking Party in the USA again.
Yeah.
Like, well, you know what? Party in the USA gets me paid.
It works.
Gets me paid, and I have fun. And I think if you've been to Tavern, you understand that it's just fun. Like I just like that. I just like it because it's fun.
It's all about dancing too.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
No one's going there for the super deep cuts. People are going there to shake some hips.
Right, exactly. I would say that entire beach bar scene, to be honest. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Anyone that comes to mind as like the dream artist for you to open up for if you got the opportunity?
Shit. I love house music, man. I'm a big Fisher. Love
Nice.
Fisher. I'm actually gonna go see Swedish House Mafia very soon.
Awesome.
I would probably never open up for Swedish House Mafia because I play Party in the USA.
Yeah.
But I love Swedish House Mafia. I love Fisher. I grew up that's the kind of stuff I grew up like. The guys when I would go to Ultra were like Tiesto. Those were the headliners. Tiesto, like Carnage, like those were the guys that were headlining at the time. Feed LeGrand and Nicky Romero. I saw Avicii. I saw them.
Wow.
I saw so like those were like the guys that I that back when EDM was like still kind of in that growth, but now it's a part of everything that we do. I mean Drake just put out the House album.
Yeah.
Which I like it a lot, by the way.
I like it too. Hot take. A lot of people didn't like it because it's very chill, but I think it's great.
Yeah, I play it. I mean, it's vibes. It's summer vibes.
Yeah, one thing about it that I feel like it works almost like front to back. You could just start it from the beginning, let it go all the way through. No skips. Exactly. It's like, it's just good vibes all the way through.
And like you hear Drake's voice, and I think people just like associate Drake's voice with like a good song. So if you hear Drake's voice,
they know the bangers.
I felt comfortable when I put it on. I was like, I could rock with this.
Exactly.
With I was actually more skeptical about his album before that. So this one,
I agree with that assessment.
I was more like hardcore judging the last album, but he put out this one. I was like, yeah, Drake.
This is nice.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
People just didn't like it because it wasn't what they were expecting from Drake, but I feel like that's a sign of a good artist too. If you can change things up, put out things in a different wavelength.
I mean, people were pissed off at the Beatles for putting out Sgt. Pepper. You know? Yeah. And that's now one of the greatest albums of all time. Not saying that's what it's going to be, but that's just, who knows.
So another thing I wanted to ask you is just, you mentioned you've kind of been in this creative field for a while now, and it's, if you kind of zoom out of the specific things you're doing, in general, you're a creative, and you're kind of making that a profession. What are some general tips and just wisdom that you've gained along the way, being a creative, being in that space that you think apply to the creative field as a whole?
Sure. I see myself as I'm still a rookie in this game. I really have only been in this world for not even 5 years, not even 3 years, actually.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been able to do a lot. One, if you're a sports creative, it's a tough industry to get into. I would say just be prepared to start from the bottom. I would be prepared to work your way up the ladder. And everybody's ladder is different, whether you have a degree or not, whether you're a videographer, photographer, everybody's ladder is different, but just be prepared to start from the bottom. And so that way, when you're at the top of your ladder, you can look down and be like, damn, like, look how far I got up. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So just be ready to start below, and always just be ready. Be available. Don't just hone in on one craft, because I think a true creative is somebody who can dabble in all.
Who can pivot a little bit too.
And you could take a photo, you can edit a photo, you can edit a video, you know how to work almost all those programs. I would say just don't be afraid to expand past what you think you're the best at.
I like that.
Yeah.
And from your experience working on the Jags social media team, it definitely sounds like you have to have that ability on a dynamic team like that. I mean, things are moving fast, and I think you mentioned earlier you were taking one of the TikToks, you were filming it, even though you're the graphic design guy, and it did really well because you were able to just pivot and covered something that wasn't necessarily. If you really like outline exactly your job description, just sticking to that is not going to bring you the best stuff.
My job, exactly. Yeah. You should never, at least in my field, I've learned that your job description doesn't mean that you're not going to do more than that. If you're not ready to go above and beyond, you're not going to get far, because you got to create value.
Exactly.
For yourself. Like, I believe I've created a lot of value for myself in this team, and and with that comes a lot of I've earned the respect of the people who pay the bills and people who make those big decisions, and I get brought in on a lot of big time projects. So I feel like if it wasn't for the way that I was when I was an intern, I wouldn't have that trust now. If I didn't go, nobody told me to do this, but I'm going to do this, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So, and I'm still doing that today. That's still something that I think I'm pretty good at, is just being self-motivated, self-driven, and do not just what's in the description on LinkedIn. What is asked of me, I will do my best to get done.
Be ready, add value, and do more than the description.
Yeah.
I like it.
Swiss Army. Be a Swiss Army.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So another question I like to ask is, if you could go back in time to, young Devin as he was getting into the industry, maybe like when you first picked up your first graphic design program or your first DJ turntable, whatever you got into first.
Sure.
What are some tips, just in the creative field in general, what are some tips that you would give him, having learned the things that you've learned now, that you think would serve him well and allow him to do things a little bit better, a little bit differently?
Such a good question. I would think Devin, maybe Devin from 5 years ago would look at the Devin now and go, damn, Devin, you did it.
Yeah.
I think that 20-year-old Devin would have been like, damn, dude, good shit. But then I think about what's 30-year-old Devin going to say to 25-year-old Devin?
Exactly.
So I think I would tell younger Devin to chill, It's going to be all right. You know,
just keep at it.
I was always really stressed about my career and my future, and which in retrospect is not the worst thing in the world. You should, if you're passionate about it, you should be worried. But I would just tell him, man, I just want to be like, I told you.
Yeah.
You know, like I told you it's going to be all right.
It's going to work out.
Yeah. And just do what you want to do. That's like one thing I always do too, is like, you know, when you go to school, like professors, parents, they're going to tell you to do things a certain way. Just do whatever you want. Listen, you know, don't ignore people. Hear what they have to say. But at the end of the day, just do whatever the hell you want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's just how I've gone to where I've been at. Is just like, I'm going to make this because I think it's good, because I think it's funny.
And that's going to lead into your passion, which is just going to give you the best work.
Yeah, exactly. Be passionate. And that's one thing I don't think I had to tell 20-year-old Devin. But I hope, and, you know, when we talk about, you know, talking to younger selves, I hope I can look at when I'm 30 and I can look at 25-year-old Devin on this podcast, go back and watch it and go, damn, 25-year-old Devin said he made it, you know?
Yeah.
So, like I said.
And now I'm here. Another question. I'm going to ask this one kind of for the first time. Hopefully make this an ongoing segment for these interviews.
Cool.
But this is called Profession Session, right? I'm curious what being a professional means to you, because I feel like it's a different thing for everyone.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, a professional could be anything. And I think in every industry, you're going to get a different answer from everybody, right? I would say a professional to me is a confident person who 100% owns their craft, and whatever that may be. A person who has the confidence in themselves, able to work with others, and maybe isn't a super leader, but has leadership qualities. So I think just being able to lead, being confident, and being a master in your skill as a professional.
It's something you can always aspire towards, becoming more and more of a master. Right.
And even if you got to kind of fake it till you make it in some industries. And I would say in the DJ world is one of those industries where you got to fake it till you make it. And I think confidence is a great, you know, if you go up and you own what you do, nobody's going to question you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to question you.
When you put on a slow song on accident and then have to switch it to the next song, you got to own it.
Just own that moment. When I go up there and I play dance with somebody, or I play some disco and I'm up there dancing to it, they're like, all right, this is it. You know,
this is what we're doing.
If I make a graphic that I think is a little bit risque, but I convince them, and they, you know, like I said, there's a lot of trust in that building, and they're going to go with it. And when it works, you just hold on to that receipt. So when they question you later, you show them.
I meant to ask you about that earlier, because you were mentioning like not every project's going to get approved. And I would imagine it does come down to the ones that are a little more risque. And you've seen that more and more with different teams now. Any that stand out in particular that were ones that you were like, let's see if we could get this approved. I don't know if we'll get it approved, but it did, and it worked.
I would say actually our most recent one was Club Duval. Club Duval.
What was it? I didn't catch that actually.
So Club Duval, it was during our media day. I don't know if you saw any of the pictures where the guys were sitting behind the neon sign and stuff. So that was like an idea that our director of social had about like, so at media day is the day where teams take all the photos of like them in uniform. We get videos, we have like a cool stage set up where we can like film like hype set stuff, like, oh, get loud, like stuff to play in the In Bowl. And so we were like, all right, well, last year an issue we had was that there was a lot of people, like it got like the main stage where they would film the stuff would get backed up. So we're like, what if we had like a waiting room area, right? Like what if we had this area that like people can hang out in while they waited to go upstairs? We'd call it, oh man, what if we made it like a club, like Club Duval? Like if we like, we just got this neon sign.
Yeah.
We're like, that's ours. So we can do something like that. Like, what if we like set up a little like kind of selfie cam area with like ring lights? We'll get a ping pong table set up. And like, we had this whole idea. It was unsponsored, untouched.
Yeah.
And I had never seen another team do it before. Pretty much just a content capturing room, right?
Yeah. But content capturing room, but make it a party.
But make it fun, right? We had music playing. We had Madden set up. We had a 360 cam, pinball machine. We had a dog come in and played with a dog. You know, like we had them put on pit vipers. We took Polaroids. It was just like an opportunity to like capture a bunch of content. And when we went to people with this idea, you know, some people really liked it. Some people had a hard time grasping it, right? But when we did it and it came to life, you know, we shocked people. People were like, I had no idea it was going to be like that. And it's so great. And like, we're going to be able to use the content that we got from that little room, you know, maybe under $5,000 budget on that room. Got cut big time too. And we made it happen and we got a lot out of it. So that was just one of those, like, let's just throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. Yeah. And it stuck. And that's awesome. And now I think it'll become something that we do every year. And I think it'll just going to get bigger and better. And hopefully we're going to be able to squeeze and milk that content all year. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. Yeah. I love the idea. Yeah. It's fun. It was such a small little idea, but that's why I say that, like, I love working with who I work with, because I couldn't do that stuff without them, you know? And so it's just so great to see that kind of stuff come to life. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Devin, anything else you want to leave the audience with? Well, if you want to see my portfolio, you just go to @Jaguars. I'm just kidding. No, you could. I was gonna say you could plug anything you want to, and I'll put it in the description too. Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, follow I have two accounts I use. @Devin Carvajal, Carvajal. That's my main personal account. You could watch me do ridiculous things on there, like slide down slides and be shirtless. Or you can follow my art page, which is where I post a lot of my designs from the Jags, or photos that I take from the Jags, things like that. And that's @Carvajal Designs. I also do freelance work too. So if you're looking for a logo, we're in Andy Varnes' studio. You did his Varnes Media logo, and that's awesome. I did, yeah. So I've done a few brands around town, but if you're needing a logo, I'm open for freelancing, especially right now before it gets crazy. So if you're needing some work done, hit your boy up. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on here. This has been awesome. Yeah, this has been great. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks. Yeah, I look forward to it. Awesome. Seeing it. This has been Profession Session. I've been your host, Brody Vinson. My guest has been Devin Carvajal of the Jaguars, of Carvajal Designs, of DJing at Tavern, whatever he wants to do. Whatever I'm on today. Exactly. Yeah. And we're going to go ahead and sign off there. Thanks so much for tuning into Profession Session. I'm your host, Brody Vinson. Stay tuned for new episodes every week and short clips of deep dives into specific topics that I put out on different social media channels. We could be found on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, all major podcast platforms. You can find my guest in the details of this video or podcast. And if you happen to know a young standout business owner, professional, or entrepreneur that you would think would be a good fit for Profession Session, DM me or get in contact with me anywhere and just let me know. And they could be the next to tell their story here. Until next time, again, this has been Profession Session. Stay focused, stay hustling, and stay networking.